The revelation came during a quiet moment between flights at Madrid's airport when Ronaldo and his head of security, Marcus, were waiting in a private lounge, and what had started as routine discussion about upcoming travel schedules and security arrangements for public appearances suddenly shifted into something far more personal. When Marcus, who had been protecting high-profile clients for over 15 years and had never shown vulnerability or uncertainty about any aspect of his professional responsibilities, admitted that his greatest fear was not the physical threats from unstable fans or the logistical challenges of crowd control, but the possibility that his dedication to protecting Ronaldo might cost him the relationship with his own teenage daughter, who had been growing increasingly distant during the 3 years since her parents' divorce, had left Marcus with limited custody time that was constantly being compromised by work obligations that required extensive travel and unpredictable schedules that made normal father-daughter activities almost impossible to maintain. Marcus Williams had built his career on being unflappable and utterly focused on client safety, with a reputation for anticipating problems before they developed and handling crises with calm efficiency that had made him one of the most sought-after personal protection specialists in Europe. But his professional success had come at enormous personal cost that included a failed marriage, estranged relationships with family members who felt abandoned by someone whose work always took precedence over personal commitments, and now the growing fear that his 16-year-old daughter Emma was slipping away from him just as she was entering the years when she most needed guidance and support from a father who understood her challenges and could provide stability during the complicated transition from adolescence to adulthood that required presence and consistency rather than just financial support and occasional phone calls from airports and hotels. The specific incident that had prompted Marcus's confession involved Emma's school play the previous week, an event that Marcus had promised to attend but had been forced to miss when a security threat required immediate changes to Ronaldo's schedule, and when he had called to explain his absence, Emma's response had been not anger or disappointment, but resigned acceptance that revealed how thoroughly she had learned not to expect her father's presence at important moments in her life. And this reaction had been more devastating than any emotional outburst would have been, because it indicated that she had given up hope that his promises about being there for her could be trusted, when professional obligations inevitably created conflicts that were resolved by sacrificing personal commitments rather than client service that generated income but destroyed relationships. The conversation that followed Marcus's admission revealed the broader challenges faced by people whose careers required total dedication to other people's welfare while leaving little time or energy for their own families. And Ronaldo found himself listening to someone whose professional competence masked personal struggles that were remarkably similar to issues that many successful people faced when their achievements came at the cost of relationships with people who mattered more than any professional accomplishment, but who were often neglected because career demands seemed more urgent and immediate than family needs that were assumed to be stable and understanding, rather than requiring active attention and nurturing that could not be postponed indefinitely without causing irreparable damage. The guilt that Marcus expressed about prioritizing client safety over family relationships was compounded by his recognition that his work provided Emma with financial advantages that would not be available if he accepted less demanding employment that paid lower wages, but allowed more predictable schedules and greater availability for normal father-daughter activities, creating a painful dilemma where loving his daughter meant choosing between providing her with economic security through work that kept him away from her, or accepting financial limitations that might affect her educational opportunities and future prospects, while allowing more time together during her remaining years at home. The impact of Marcus's divided attention was visible in Emma's academic and social development, with teachers reporting that she was increasingly withdrawn and reluctant to participate in school activities that required parental involvement, and her reluctance to invite friends to their home or discuss her interests and concerns with her father revealed how children adapted to parental absence by becoming self-reliant in ways that protected them from disappointment, but also prevented them from developing the kind of close family relationships that were essential for emotional security and healthy development during adolescent years, when peer pressure and social challenges required strong family support systems that could provide guidance and unconditional acceptance. The solution that emerged from their conversation was both simple and revolutionary, with Ronaldo recognizing that his security needs could be met through arrangements that allowed Marcus to maintain his professional effectiveness while having more predictable time off that could be dedicated to family responsibilities without the constant uncertainty about schedule changes and emergency travel that had been preventing him from making reliable commitments to his daughter. And this approach required restructuring security protocols to include backup personnel and advanced planning that reduced Marcus's need to be available for every aspect of Ronaldo's protection, while ensuring that safety standards remained uncompromised through better organization and resource allocation. The immediate change that was implemented involved scheduling Marcus's time off around Emma's school calendar and important events, with other security team members taking primary responsibility during periods when Marcus needed to be present for parent-teacher conferences, school performances, sports events, and the kind of routine family activities that were essential for maintaining close relationships, but had been impossible when work obligations took precedence over all personal commitments. And this restructuring demonstrated how celebrity employers could support their staff's family relationships without compromising their own security or convenience, when arrangements were planned thoughtfully and resources were allocated appropriately. The father-daughter relationship that began to develop when Marcus was able to be present for Emma's activities revealed how much both of them had been missing during the years when work demands had prevented normal family interaction, with Emma's initial wariness gradually giving way to appreciation for having a father who was genuinely interested in her thoughts, feelings, and daily experiences, rather than just checking in occasionally to ensure she had everything she needed financially, while remaining essentially absent from her emotional and social development. And Marcus's discovery of his daughter's intelligence, creativity, and sense of humor reminded him why family relationships were worth protecting, even when career success seemed to require sacrificing personal connections. The professional development that occurred when Marcus was able to approach his work with better work-life balance actually improved his effectiveness as a security specialist, with the reduced stress and improved family relationships providing him with renewed energy and focus that made him more alert and responsive to potential threats, while also making him a better team leader who understood the importance of supporting his colleagues. Personal needs, rather than demanding total dedication that destroyed family relationships and created the kind of personal instability that could compromise professional performance over time, when people became burned out and resentful about sacrifices that seemed unnecessary when viewed from the perspective of someone whose family life had been destroyed by work demands. The mentorship role that Marcus began taking with younger security personnel included explicit discussions about maintaining family relationships while building successful careers in personal protection. And his example of insisting on family time while maintaining professional excellence demonstrated that it was possible to be effective in demanding careers without sacrificing the personal relationships that provided meaning and motivation for work that was ultimately valuable only if it supported rather than destroyed the things that mattered most in people's lives. And his advice helped other security professionals avoid the mistakes that had nearly cost him his relationship with his daughter. The foundation program that developed from understanding Marcus's situation focused on supporting working parents whose careers required extensive travel or unpredictable schedules, providing childcare assistance, family counseling services, and advocacy for employment policies that recognized workers' family responsibilities rather than treating personal commitments as obstacles to professional dedication. And the program's success in helping families maintain close relationships despite challenging work requirements demonstrated that employer support for staff family life was not just morally important, but practically beneficial for maintaining stable, motivated workforce that performed better when personal lives were supported rather than sacrificed to professional demands. The annual father-daughter trip that Marcus and Emma began taking became a symbol of how their relationship had been transformed when work arrangements were restructured to prioritize family time, and their shared experiences, traveling together and participating in activities that Emma enjoyed, provided them with memories and traditions that would last far beyond Marcus's career in personal protection, while also giving Emma confidence that her father valued their relationship enough to make it a priority, rather than something that was accommodated only when work demands permitted time for personal attention that should have been guaranteed rather than dependent on professional convenience. Years later, when Emma had graduated from university and was pursuing her own career while maintaining the close relationship with her father that had been rebuilt during her teenage years, when Marcus had transitioned to consulting work that allowed even more family time while still utilizing his security expertise, when the Foundation's family support programs had helped hundreds of working parents maintain relationships with their children, despite demanding career requirements, Ronaldo would reflect that learning about Marcus's fear of losing his daughter had reminded him that the people who worked to protect and serve others also needed protection and support for the relationships that mattered most to them, and that true leadership required recognizing that employees were complete human beings whose personal happiness and family stability were essential for their professional effectiveness and long-term loyalty, rather than obstacles to be managed or sacrifices to be expected in exchange for employment opportunities that should enhance rather than destroy the personal lives that provided meaning and motivation for even the most demanding professional responsibilities.